In other news, South Africa is currently hosting a two-day media summit alongside this week's G20 meetings. Journalists and media experts from around the world are coming together to talk about important issues, including climate change, global debt, technology, and making sure that people get accurate news. The summit is also aimed at bringing together the media together, to give everyone access to information and to support strong journalism. Watching the story is SABC News reporter Kailihle Khumalo, who joins us now live from Melrose Arch in Johannesburg. Kailihle, no overstating the importance of gathering like these, given even our own interactions, and how important it is for the media to get the support it needs to do their jobs.
Well, very much so, and it is a very important two-day gathering. It's all about also amplifying those G20 priorities for Africa. And of course, the media is going to be at the forefront in making sure that there's clear coverage of this all-important event, especially for the African continent, for the countries in the global south, but also just reflecting on the challenges that are facing the journalists within the G20 countries, especially, when you take into account all sorts of challenges facing the journalist, whether you're looking at the issues of media funding and many other issues as well. But to really reflect on the significance of this, we're joined by Katharina Zuegel, Policy Director, of course, at the Forum on Information and Democracy. So, Katharina, let's look at today, the significance of this moment. A lot of issues will be amplified. Why is it so key?
First of all, thank you very much for having me. In today's world, the G20 presidency goals cannot be achieved unless we look at the information integrity crisis and the media crisis. Actually, there are coordinated, well-targeted, well-financed disinformation attacks against policymakers to distort public opinion, to change impact, and to really hold actions, for example, to create sustainable development, fight climate change. And only if we tackle this information integrity crisis, only if we tackle the crisis of sustainability and media financing and media freedom, where media are increasingly under attack, on the one hand financially, but also by actually harassment, violent attacks, can we tackle the G20 presidency goals. So the objective of today's conference is to bring attention to the topics of information integrity to the G20 leaders. We really want this to be a key element of G20 negotiations. But we also want this conference to be a moment where all the different actors come together, reflect about solutions, and think about the way forward for the G20.
And one of the key issues here, Katharina, is that during the course of the summit, we're going to see the Johannesburg Declaration. Subsequently, that will find its way to the G20 leaders, and quite a lot of issues there, whether we're looking at cyber misogyny, especially for female journalists who are really bearing the brunt of these attacks.
One thing that we've seen over the last year is there's a huge problem with big tech accountability. At the Forum on Information and Democracy, we have developed principles for the global information space, such as protecting journalists, transparency, accountability since a long time. However, there's a huge lack of implementation. So we know different ways of how to do it. However, we need all the different players to participate, and today we see a huge backlash against any of these initiatives in the name of freedom of expression. However, this is not freedom of expression, but it's about protecting journalists, enabling them to do their work, enabling citizens to have access to reliable information.
And just before I let you go, Katharina, another very key element here will be around the viability of the media. The resources are shrinking, the funding model, among other many things as well. Some of the biggest challenges facing the media fraternity across the world.
One big problem is that the advertisement market has been traditionally a source of revenue, has been captured by big tech platforms, and media companies themselves are getting a smaller and smaller share. This is actually why today we're launching a policy brief to call upon leaders worldwide to implement a digital service tax big tech companies, and that money should then be earmarked to fund, at least in parts, journalism. And it's really the polluters pay principles that can be used as an argument to make big tech contribute to media viability and media sustainability.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Of course, I understand that Katharina. So one of the main speakers here during the course of the morning, we're going to hear from the Minister of Communications and, of course, Digital Technologies, Mr. Solomon Latsi. He's scheduled to be a main speaker today, but it's bound to be a very riveting moment, but also very soul-searching for the media fraternity right here in South Africa. You do have the South African National Editors Forum alongside Media Monitoring Africa, really, and many other sponsors who will have an opportunity to address the delegates. So with that, back to you in studio.
All right, Kailihle Khumalo, thanks very much indeed. Try our very best, of course, not to miss a beat. Kailihle is live to us from Melrose Arch.